Welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm Jason Whitlock. That is Marcellus, Wiley, that dude. Coming up, I'll tell you why there's a growing rift between Antonio Brown and Mike Tomlin.
And I've got another installment of That Dude's Dudes, Emmy Award-winning That Dude's Dudes. But we start every day with a Whitlock. What you got today, big dog?
Oh, man, I got LeBron James. I'm changing LeBron James's nickname. The chosen one and King James still fit. They speak to his athletic privilege and elevated status in American culture. But where they now fall short is in conveying the delusion of celebrity. That's why from this day forth, I'll be referring to LeBron as Hollywood James.
Oh, my.
The king has gone Hollywood. He's no longer just a kid from Akron. He's a celebrity from Hollywood. It's like the difference between the Gary, Indiana version of Michael Jackson and the Hollywood Michael Jackson who hung his child over a balcony.
Come on.
Yesterday, during a post-practice media session, Hollywood James bragged to reporters that he drinks wine with his 14 and 11-year-old sons.
I got very mature 14 and 11-year-olds.
There you
Yeah. My 14 and 11-year-olds drink wine.
Really?
Yeah, that's how mature they are.
Wow. That's
They
impressive.
be driving next week, too.
White bread.
Whatever dad's and mom's having, man. Put it on me, though. Don't put it on mom. Put it on dad. Put it on dad.
Oh, I can hear the LeBron apologists right now. Well, in France and Europe, parents let their kids drink at a very early age. This is no big deal. Last I checked, we ain't in France, we in America. And LeBron has carefully crafted a brand around being a voice for Black America. LeBron has an HBO TV show where he cusses and drops the N-word in a barbershop setting like he's Eddie Murphy in Coming to America. LeBron analogized himself to Emmett Till's mama when someone allegedly spray-painted the N-word on the gate of his $20 million Brentwood mansion. LeBron participated in the formation of the I Promise School because LeBron is one of the boys from the hood who hasn't forgotten where he came from. My point is, LeBron is an elite who purports to reject elitism. He's not a global citizen. He's one of you. If he's one of you, and I'm talking specifically to the great mass of Black America, surely he's aware that nearly 75% of our children are growing up in single-parent homes. Surely he knows that 14 and 11-year-olds drinking in less supervised one-parent homes is significantly more complicated and problematic than drinking inside a gated community with two parents and a staff of employees to help you oversee your kids. Surely he realizes his kids can overcome far more mistakes than the average Black child. Does Hollywood James understand his cultural influence? Does he know there are 11-year-old kids of all races who will hear his words and instantly think they're mature enough to drink wine, beer, alcohol, and maybe even smoke a little weed? Maybe Hollywood James should go visit his I Promise school in Akron and talk with the teachers there. Kids experimenting with abusing alcohol is a problem educators deal with on a daily basis. My father owned a bar for most of my life. My dad had a long relationship with Crown Royal. My 78-year-old mother will still have an occasional fling with Hennessy VSOP. But my parents saw no upside in drinking with me as a child. There's certainly no upside to publicly sharing the illegal activity. In fact, given LeBron's influence, it's irresponsible. It's yet another indication that King James is Hollywood James. At this pace, a year from now, he'll be Rick James. All right.
Say the last word.
The nickname.
Rick James.
Hollywood James. All right, we're joined now by a couple of dads, a couple of former great football players, Brian Cox and Greg Jennings. Start with you, Marcellus. I think this is irresponsible and a mistake for LeBron to make these kind of flippant comments.
And as a LeBron apologist, I have to echo what you said. It is irresponsible. It's conflicting, too. Even listening to LeBron say it, you don't know if it's tongue-in-cheek. You don't know if it's in jest, or should we take him literally? Are we grading him on the Old Testament scale or the New Testament scale? Are we U.S. standards or international standards, as you spoke of? But the damning part about this is how it's creating an enabling culture for his kids. Because as you know, we've all went through adolescence. It's not about what you do. It's what this is suggesting what you can do and what can come from this. So LeBron has now given these guys an adult kind of behavior at an earlier starting point than you socially are ready to handle that adult responsibility. So the damning part for LeBron James is you just now, forget displacing yourself from the black experience, because your status has displaced you from our large collective black experience. You are the king, and we get that. It's the fact that now you have suggested to your kids something that could come back to haunt you.
I'm gonna take a different look.
Go ahead. You're a father.
I'm going to apologize up front, because in no way do I condone drinking or whatever. But my dad did it with me. When I was about LeBron's kid's age, my dad, we would have Friday afternoon drinks with my dad, and we'd only have beer. And we would sit down and we'd have man conversations. It was only his sons. And we could talk about anything we wanted to talk about. We could curse, we could do whatever, because he wanted us to feel like we could go to him with anything. And his thing to us was always, you know, you can do anything in this world and I'll still love you. If you die, I can't help you. Anything else we can deal with. And so I had...
How old were you guys at this?
About 11, 14. And I had thoughts of doing it with my children. And my wife said, if you do, I'm calling Children Family Services on.
Thank you.
Say it, lady.
That's why I love your wife.
Say it, lady.
She was good, but I understand the concept of sitting around and having a drink. We had a 2-drink limit. We can only have 2 beers. But none of his kids like to drink now. None of us are really into drinking. Like, it's nasty. And so for me, I don't think it has consequences going forward. But I think what he's trying to say is, look, we can have a conversation, or maybe we can have this drink to have some common ground or some common time. So at least, you know, my dad's thought was, I want to see it, because I know you're probably going to do something. I'd rather you do it in front of me than to do it sneaking or hiding.
I have a problem with him saying it. It's when I look at things and I look at the way I run my home, and again, I would never tell anyone how to parent their kids and what to do inside their own home. But the fact that you said it, what's coming out of that? Why even say it? And this is where it's kind of when you look at someone when they're getting older. They say what they want, when they want, how they want to say it, to who they want to say it to, because they feel like, I'm old, I don't care anymore. That's kind of what LeBron just did. It's like I'm in a class of my own. I can say what I want to say. I can do what I want to do. I'm going to do that. And for me, was it productive or was it counterproductive to not only his kids or his brand? What typically you do at home, some of the things you do at home, the reason why he said, oh, that's on dad. Make sure that's on dad. That's not on mom. Because you probably said, we don't need to tell this. We don't need to say this outside of our home. Nobody needs to know. This is what we're doing at home. Did you go around telling everybody, all your friends, yeah, I'm drinking on Fridays with my dad?
I'm about to say, they were there every Friday with him. They were like, that line got longer every Friday.
They knew.
But some of the things you do at home stays at home. And my issue with this is him just promoting that. It's not a good look.
Here's my issue, and again, I'm not a parent, and you 3 are. And so I want your reaction to this. But my reaction when I listen to you talk about your father, and no disrespect, but I hear a lot of parents, they want to be friends with their kids rather than be parents. And that's where me and my mother to this day fall out, because she still wants to be my mama, in control. And that's the right lane. I'm glad we have that tension. And my father, at no point, I take very good care, my father's passed, take very good care of them. But they still, mama and daddy, they still try to run the deal.
And I love that, because you need that respected distance. You need to know that someone is looking over you, being an authority figure, being in a higher ground than you are. Because when you try to level that playing field, that's where the issues occur, because you're not knowing what to do and deal with when you're going up the mountain, when you're climbing as a youngster, as a teenager. Too much life is in front of you, and too little of you is able to decipher it. So I take exception when I hear people say, I don't tell people how to parent. Oh, there is a standard out there, and I respect that standard. I have this conversation, whether it's about alcohol, about teenage sex, and my kids, if they're gonna mess around, let them come in my house and do it. Nah, chill out. And there are minimum standards. And I think that you have to respect the minimum standard, that you don't need truth serum. You don't need something that is going to be a coping mechanism to tell me how you're dealing with an 11 and 14-year-old experience.
I don't disagree with what you guys are saying, but in my situation, I don't think my dad was trying to be our friend. He was trying to make a situation of trust that you can come to me with anything. Because after my mom and dad got divorced, his thing was, I got 4 boys. I want to know what's going on with my boys. And so that was his way of catching up with all the weak stresses of what's happening. And he was far from our friend. We get in some trouble now. We'd have some problems. But I thought that was one way that it allowed me to connect with him where I didn't feel afraid to tell him even when I did the most inappropriate thing or when I did the worst thing, because I knew I could go and have a conversation with him. And that's what that was about for us anyway. I can't speak for anybody else.
So for me, I was raised, my mom and dad are still together, and I was raised by mom and dad. So I had my dad's point of view, and I had my mom's point of view. There were certain things I would do in front of my mom that I knew I couldn't get away with in front of my dad. There were certain things that I would do in front of my dad or say to my dad that I would never say or do in front of my mom. And I think sometimes when we're, in LeBron's case, being raised by mom, you forget that one side. You only have that one side approach. So you are everything. You are involved in everything. Every decision that mom makes, you're there. And so you don't have that other parent to kind of bounce the ideas off. So you think, let me just include everybody. So maybe this is what we're seeing. I'm just going to include my kids. Now, the way my wife and I conduct our home, it's good cop, bad cop, but you're not going to drink a glass of wine with mommy and daddy just for me to feel like we can need to talk to you about anything and we want you to come to us about it. Look, that's what we want anyway. Is it going to happen? No.
And that doesn't have to be the medium. That doesn't have to be the way, the conduit doesn't have to be alcohol.
Absolutely not.
It's not like me and Savannah, hey, you know what, go get 2 more glasses for little Bronny and them. Like, we're not sitting here having that kind of conversation, and we're not getting there through using these methods. That's not how we get there.
It wasn't. First of all, it was a different time, but it wasn't that kind of thing. When I envisioned that, that's funny. It's like, go get some more. It wasn't that kind of
Brian,
thing.
I think what your dad was doing and what I think a lot of people do that haven't maybe thought it all the way through is just like, hey, this is an activity I like to do on Fridays. I like to have a couple of beers. Let me include my boys in it. And I just think you got to find different other things like, my father liked to fish. So he'd take me and my brother fishing with him.
Right.
And that's when we would have those conversations and all of that. And again, my father owned a bar, and I grew up on a bar stool at Jimmy's J Bar J and the Masterpiece Lounge. Right, that's where I grew up. I didn't do no drinking, none. And I was there every day. And then at night when it would get crowded, we'd be off in an office somewhere. But there was just a line you didn't cross. And so I would say, and to your point, Greg, I think what you're saying about LeBron is because he grew up without a father and didn't have that co-parenting deal where it's like Brian said, his wife raised her hand and objected and said, hell no, that's not happening. And LeBron didn't have that growing up, and so I think he's comfortable. What I just heard him say, he made this decision, don't put it on mama. That's because I think mama objected, but he overruled when he should have stood down, in my view. And sometimes that's where I go with this Hollywood James, and I want to ask you all quickly on this. I just think being out here in Hollywood, man, Hollywood is just undefeated. And I think it's going to have a negative.
It is not undefeated.
A negative.
Tom Hanks.
Tom Cruise, you don't think he's a little nuts? You don't think he's a little nuts? Hollywood's undefeated. I just think Hollywood is having a negative impact on LeBron James.
There's a reason why my family still resides in Minneapolis and I come out here to work. It's because there are certain things that I feel like are out here that are too fast moving to where I don't want my family, let alone my children, to be exposed to things that I can't control.
Man, they sell alcohol in Minnesota.
I get that.
I get alcohol in Cleveland. I understand. Like LeBron got drunk all of a sudden.
No, that's not. I don't think that's what he's saying. I think that with everything that everybody's trying to chase out in Hollywood. It's the fast life. It's the quick fix. It's the quick success. It's the quick money. It's the quick dollar. That's what I think Jason's saying.
Let me say this, though. At the end of the day, I think it's a brilliant move because, first of all, athletes in general, and particularly black athletes, never see the future. Your career has an expiration date. And so I think he's doing a wonderful thing getting out here in L.A. to start his movie company and his production company to get it off the ground. So in 5-7 years, when he step away, he rolling. That's the promise Magic Johnson gave to him. That was the allure of him coming out here. I think it's brilliant.
Well, it's already been rolling. Like all these things
But
that
it's going to get bigger.
It's going to get bigger, yeah. But everything that's been greenlit of late was already being produced and behind the scenes years ago, even in
Careful
Cleveland.
what you wish for is my take.
Well, here we go. You know, I hate when people use the locale argument when they talk about temptation.
That's because you're from here.
One, I am from here, and trust me, run faster if it's too fast for you. Keep up, catch up. But everywhere you go, there you are. And, you know, I used to have this in the locker room, my boys. I'd be like, hey, man, it's off season, what we doing? And they're like, I don't know what you want to do, Wiley. I was like, let's go to Miami. Okay, and after Miami, let's go to Trinidad. Let's go to Brazil. I don't know if we could go there. I'm like, why? Well, that's not going to sound good to the significant other. I was like, wait a minute. Does the significant other know that you can go around the corner and do the same thing? You could go any other place that looks deceptive, like it's going to lure you to all this temptation? LeBron James has been drinking wine since we've seen LeBron James on social media. Don't attribute that to the L.A. Hollywood experience. Just say that this was a bad step.
I just
for the
put
king.
it all in totality that Hollywood and L.A., it's a different culture. And again, Greg living in Minnesota, me growing up in Indianapolis and Kansas City, Brian in East St. Louis, Illinois. It's a different overall culture than out here. There's more kids, there's more parents out here feeding their kids wine than there is in the Midwest. That's just a fact.
Really quick, you think, why didn't we hear LeBron say this in Cleveland?
Kids were younger is what it would be the argument.
Yeah, I would hope.
I mean,
they
he
were
was
6.
He was just in Cleveland. He was just in Cleveland.
He was just there. You're right.
You're right. But it's a different social economical place. Like, it's just different.
It wasn't the socioeconomics. This was LeBron exaggerating how relatable he is to this young Laker core. He went there on the music scene. He was like,
He
hey,
did.
my kids listen to the same thing that Kyle Kuzma does. And then he got a little carried away, but I'm not going to blame that on Kyle. I think it was just a senseless act.
Hollywood James.
And as the old folk would say, you can get in trouble anywhere you want to get in.
Thank you. Everywhere you go.
There's a reason your wife FaceTimes you every night when you out here. Check and
I
make sure.
FaceTime her.
She FaceTimes you too, just to make sure. And I got her back. All right, welcome back. Whitlock and Wiley, joined now by Fox NFL analyst Greg Jennings and Brian Cox. Let's move to some big stories. Starting in Pittsburgh, where Antonio Brown is facing multiple lawsuits for an incident in April where he allegedly threw furniture and other items off a 14th floor balcony and nearly hit a toddler. Mike Tomlin says he knows nothing about the incident, which is similar to what he said about Brown's threat to beat up a reporter earlier this season. Marcellus, do you think Tomlin has a problem with Antonio Brown?
No, not at all. And I'm starting to find the commonality in all the Pittsburgh stories. Somehow, some way, we're going to try and put it on Mike Tomlin.
Yes.
I understand it's because you're the head coach. I get that. But we don't hear enough about the second winningest active coach in the NFL, champion coach. We don't hear enough about the good stuff about him. We always want to bring him down. Despite in New England, the most storied franchise of our era, has had a murderer, manslaughter, drug user, the biggest NFL scandals, and still Belichick is Teflon, and every story that's negative doesn't always get attributed to him and his legacy. So I wanted to start with that, but let's talk about the coaching experience. The first thing that happens in a coach's day is not my assistant comes in, roll call, there are no civil suits today. Okay, let's go to practice. That's not how the game works. Mike Tomlin is not responsible for something that happened in April that didn't hit his radar. Mike Tomlin is being subjected from an experience that we need to dive a little deeper into because I don't understand why all the hate towards him.
You've moved the goalpost. Does Mike Tomlin potentially have a problem with Antonio Brown? And I think he does. I think that's why he's not talking about these incidents and he's avoiding them completely because I think if you go back to 2 years ago with the Facebook Live deal, and Mike Tomlin was very clear, it was selfish, it was irresponsible, he went after Antonio Brown. And then the organization came back and gave Antonio Brown the contract. And in my view, I think Mike Tomlin said, oh, y'all made an organizational decision to invest in Antonio Brown. That is y'all's problem. And so when these issues come up with Antonio Brown, because Antonio Brown's issues are no secret. This dude is a loose cannon with a screw loose. And Mike Tomlin, every time something comes up, I ain't in it, wasn't my decision, that's their decision.
But that's his policy on all things.
I don't know if it's all. I think there's something here with Antonio Brown.
Well, I think this is a little different in terms of it's a personal issue. So how and why would he know about it? He wasn't in Miami with him.
Right.
And unless they gave him the report, but this is a lawsuit, so it's not, this doesn't affect the Pittsburgh Steelers football operation, so to speak. So Tomlin shouldn't speak on this. This is a man's personal business. It has nothing to do with me. I don't know anything about it.
I agree with that. It's not so much that I don't think he has no knowledge about it. I think when you don't have enough information and detail, I'm not speaking on it. I don't know it. I don't know enough about it to where I can speak eloquently enough and give you insight. No, it's not my case. It's a lawsuit out. It'll be handled as such. But when Antonio Brown comes to that locker room and is on that field, Mike Tomlin has no problem with what he produces and what he attributes to that organization and that team. And you talk about in the locker room with the Facebook Live, yeah, he addressed it, but I don't think for 1 second he was like, oh, yeah, don't sign this guy. Don't re-sign. Absolutely not.
He could have maybe had a preference in terms of, look, the organization said, we're going to invest in Big Ben and Antonio Brown. The organization could have said, we're going to invest in Big Ben and Le'Veon Bell. That's where I think Mike Tomlin perhaps was sitting there. Now, I know both these guys, and I know Le'Veon's had some issues, but his issues are different than Antonio's. Antonio is involved, and look, trust me on this, there will be more stories about Antonio Brown. This dude is a loose cannon. And I think that Mike Tomlin, like any experienced football person, from Bill Parcells to Brian Cox when you was a coach, if the organization went all in on Antonio Brown and maybe they should have went all in on the running back, that could be a little bit of a problem, and that could explain why Mike Tomlin's handling
that
this
dynamic has existed in football for decades. If you go back to the Dallas Cowboys in their storied years, there were Jimmy Johnson guys versus Jerry Jones guys. And then that even advanced to there were Bill Parcells guys versus a Jerry Jones guy. We've seen it before, and we've seen it work before, where you get in a collective room at a round table, not everyone's going to raise their hand in support, but that doesn't mean that there's really an existing problem. Sometimes we just have difference of opinion.
They will tolerate you when you're as good as Antonio Brown is. When you're no longer that good, you're not worth the headache.
Yeah, you're right.
That was
What happened
Ed
to you?
Brown.
That's what happened to you.
No, I was good everywhere I went.
Well, you must have got worse as a person then, because there was a point they were like, no more.
To Dallas, where Jerry Jones seems to be spending most of his time these days defending his team. First, he found a way to justify Jason Garrett's terrible decision to punt on 4th and 1 in overtime Sunday night. Now he's coming to Dak Prescott's defense, saying he still believes in the quarterback despite his disappointing year so far.
He did some things that kept us in that game the other day. I'm firmly in the corner that we've got a quarterback that we can build with and have for years to come in Dak Prescott. Make no mistake about it. I think he's continued to improve.
Marcellus, are you buying what Jerry's selling here? Do you think Jerry still believes in Dak Prescott as a franchise quarterback?
Oh, love me some Jerry Jones. Seriously. Played 1 year in Dallas, and he's the most savvy businessman. The only owner I ever played for that actually gave me a gift. Outside of the salary, outside of the signing bonus, he actually gave me a gift, $5,000 pen. Didn't need that. Rather took $5,000 for the check. You know, a little more on that signing bonus, Jerry, but do you? But here's the thing about Jerry Jones. He's so savvy that this is a genius statement that he just made. Yes, he's lying through his teeth. But what he's doing already is starting a negotiation with Dak Prescott while Dak Prescott is at his lowest point. So what is this going to help him do? When Dak Prescott finally rises, if he ever does to a point where he is a franchise quarterback, Dak has to remember, God, hometown discount for the guy who believed in me when I was at the bottom, the guy who came and supported me when I was at my lowest. Jerry Jones knows this guy's out there throwing 190 yards a game and is below average, but Jerry's already starting a negotiation with a guy who right now is looking for some confidence.
I like that point, and I agree with it, but I also think that Jerry does believe put a wide receiver and a tight end, a real number one wide receiver and a tight end. I still think he believes Dak Prescott can be a franchise quarterback.
I don't think Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback, but I also would make this statement about Jerry. Jerry, with Jason Garrett, I thought Jason made the right decision in the game.
Oh, my, you the
Okay,
person.
thank you. Thank you. We found that's two.
Okay.
You and Greg.
You want me
Now
to go there
see why-
before I go back?
I
You want me
see
to,
why you're not a head coach now. You doing the same kind of dumb stuff as Jason Garrett.
you want me to go there before I go back to the original
Please
point?
explain that.
Okay, the original point. 2 weeks before, when Frank Reich went for it against Houston and it backfired, he missed it. Second point is 3rd down and 1, they gave the ball to Zeke and he got stuffed and lost yards.
You can throw
Why
the
would I
ball.
have
You can throw the
to
ball.
who?
To somebody for 2 yards.
who?
To Zeke.
Oh.
You can
I
throw
doubt
it to Zeke.
So you pin them down, they get the ball at the 10-yard line, and they go down
And
the
now
score.
you want to throw Frank Reich's ridiculous decision into this discussion.
It's the same thing.
Where's my Twitter off?
Get him.
But now back to the
Back
to the point. So back to the topic. This guy has, in 3 of the 5 games, he's thrown for 180 yards or less. One game this year, he's thrown for 250 yards. He's not a franchise quarterback. He's a game manager that has no real weapons, that's not going to get better. He was a one-year wonder that he's going to get paid like he's a franchise quarterback.
No, he's not going to
With
get
Jerry keep making comments like that, the money going to keep going up. Because if Jerry don't pay him, somebody going to pay him.
No.
Yeah, they got backups making $18 million now. Watch yourself.
Look, I think Jerry does believe that he is a franchise guy. You don't make a comment like that just to make the comment. And when you look at what he was able to do in year 1 as a rookie, I think there's so much put on that season, but so little put on the value that having a Tony Romo right next to you every time you walk off that sideline and you're in that locker room and you're in that meeting room watching that film, that you can say, hey, what should I have done in this situation? Now he doesn't have that. So now everything is on him. So we're starting to see who he really is, and that level of maturity and that level of responsibility is a little heavy. It's a little heavy because he has to carry it all. He has no coach that like a Sean McVay that can be creative and innovative, like a Matt Nagy, like all these younger coaches that are on the offensive side of the ball that kind of tailor their offenses around their young quarterback.
Okay, so who was the GM?
Jerry Jones.
Okay, he knew that
Steven
Whitten
Jones,
was leaving.
maybe.
He knew that he wasn't getting the tight end. He knew that he had no number 1 receiver. He knew that the offensive line was banged up. So it's his job to get this guy some players so that they can have an offense. The thing that I say about his first year, when did he go in there and just tear the game up? It was all based on Ezekiel Elliott's running the ball and him managing the game. The guy's a game manager and nothing more. You can make him anything you want to make him, you know, if you're trying to make him that franchise quarterback. He's going to get paid like it because we know in this league quarterbacks are overvalued.
I agree with you. Who is the most prideful owner and general manager in this game?
Jerry.
Jerry Jones.
well-
So the reason why I say that is because he made a decision. He's going to stick to a decision. It's just like Dez Bryant. He's not bringing Dez Bryant back. Why? Because he made the decision to release him. So he's not going to go back on his word. So with him saying Dak Prescott is my guy, he's going to ride that until the wheels fall off.
Is
gonna
he making
we
it?
got to go. I agree with Marcellus, though. He's going to make an affordable decision with Dak Prescott. The pieces have been laid. Dak is going to play for $18 million a year. He's not going to get one of these $20 million deals that other guys are getting. He's going to get what he deserves because he hasn't proven so far he's a great quarterback. All right, welcome back. Whitlock and Wiley. Greg Jennings and Brian Cox here with us. All right, let's move to New York, where Odell Beckham Jr. is still facing questions about his Lil Wayne interview. Lil Wayne interview is an interview with Josina Anderson of ESPN. But insists that nothing can come between him and his teammates. But Lil Wayne might not be making things easier for Odell, taking to Instagram to push back against the backlash to the interview.
My man Odell Beckham Jr. is taking a lot of flack, taking a lot of heat about this interview him and I done. I've been hearing things like, if he wants to be he as in Odell, if Odell wants to be taken seriously, why would he do an interview with Lil Wayne sitting next to him? I think you as in all of y'all just a little bit upset that it's not y'all who can get somebody with a #1 album, thank God, and one of the greats of the NFL to sit down in a room together and get on camera and get such a great interview.
All right, Marcellus. Odell has invited the circus to the Giants. The circus is here. He thinks it's bringing the team together. Do you agree?
No, you ain't off the hook. The elephant in the room. Lil Wayne talking to you. Lil Wayne talking to you because you exactly came on this show with those words saying, what is Lil Wayne doing in an interview with Odell if he's going to be taken seriously? Did you not?
I did say that.
Okay. Now, what you got to say to Tunchi? Say this something to Tunchi. Go down. I dare you.
Look, Lil Wayne is not a football player. And he ain't letting Odell do guest verses on the Carter 5, 6, 7, 8, or whatever. So
Right. All right. Let me answer the question, I guess. Will it galvanize this team? I think so. One, because he's stirring the pot. But the pot is not empty. This is a talented roster. This is a defense that used to be really good in recent times. Hey, it's still in there in that DNA. Recent times. This is a team that has 2/3 of what you need in today's NFL, which is you need your receiver, a true #1, and you need your running back. And boy, do they have them a young star back there. So all they need is Eli Manning to show me something, live up to some of your last name. But that's the problem. But by stirring the pot, thank you very much, strong. That's strong. But stirring the pot, I think that we saw the first response, best game for him in 2 years, and the most points that they scored in 2 years. I think so.
No way. It's selfish by him. First of all, the defense ain't no good. And then the second thing is they got a good running back. Yep. They got a good wide receiver. The quarterback is shell-shocked. He's scary. True. And they don't have a head coach with leadership skills. So this team won't be galvanized by this. This is just a sign of his selfishness. He went into that interview, and if you count the many times he said, it's over at least 20. So was it about him or the Giants? Greg?
Look, the only people mad at you for speaking the truth are those who are living a lie. You are living a lie right now. Let me tell you something. Eli Manning is he never outright said anything negative towards Eli Manning, which he could have. He could have clearly said, yeah, he's a problem. Everybody sees it. We go into the film room. We watch film together. Let me stop you for a second.
Does Marcellus need to announce that I'm overweight, or is it evident? So nobody needs to call out Eli, man.
Yeah. No, don't get a bullseye in here. Don't hit it bullseye.
Let me tell you why. Because there's in the locker room, you have guys who you feel like can say things and can promote change or stir up change. Like you said, stir the pot. Yeah. Everybody's not that guy. But in the locker room, if there's an issue, you looking at the guy like, come on, man, you got to go to coach and tell him that. Totally. You got to go in there and you got to say something or nothing's going to happen.
And that's the experience.
Yes, that's the life. And for those who are going to say, well, why didn't he say something to Eli? Look, Eli Manning got benched last year. Did anything on Eli Manning's face change? Did his disposition change? Did his play change when he came back in? Nope. So what good is that going to do? Nothing.
That's why I say he's shell-shocked. But my point with OBJ is he's talked about how much better they played last week, but they still hung up an L. The difference is he got his yardage. So he's the kind of guy that can lose a game, get his yards, and be happy.
Wait a minute.
No.
They haven't scored 30 points in 2 years, and then they finally scored.
They lost, Marcellus.
Okay. He ain't had 100 yards in 2 years.
Are we talking about the results, or are we talking about the process? And he's stirring up something to say, I need y'all to be more competitive, and you need to stop calling them selfish for this reason.
He's selfish.
Okay, old school players always talking about selfish, but selfless and
got paid.
Selfless and selfish have one thing in common: self. We all out there trying to get this, and I'm trying to get this in process of us getting this. You know what the problem is? You've been there before. I've been that guy who has said something that was really the voices of 51 other dudes in there.
I've done it on every team I've been on.
Right, so why is he selfish when he does it, but you weren't when you did it?
Because he needs to go tell the coach that. Don't tell the media that, or don't tell people in the media that. Go directly to. I went to Bill Parcells. I went to Don Shula. I went to Bill Belichick. I went to Jim Haslett. I went to Dave Wannstedt. My head coaches, when I was made captain, I had to make some choices that were against the organization, and there were some choices against the locker room. I had to sit in there and say, what do you guys want me to do? Is this more important or is this more important? I had to fight those fights because I was the guy that was going to the office on every team I've been on. None of them other guys was going. I'd go in there and sit down with Bill Belichick and Don Shula and Bill Parcells, and we'd have some knockdown dragouts. And at the end of the conversation, I love you, let's go back to work, this is the way it's going to be.
The reason why I disagree is because if Odell Beckham says anything, it's this receiver diva, oh, he's selfish. Aaron Rodgers just said something about his own head coach in a press conference. Is he selfish or was he trying to get a point across?
Well, I
Exactly.
would say he's selfish
He was trying to get a
because
point
to me,
across.
That stuff don't come out the locker room. That stuff stays in the locker
In
room
a press
and you go tell the
conference,
head coach.
was Aaron Rodgers next to Kenny Chesney or Bon Jovi or anybody?
But
he was in a press conference talking football with football people.
No, but Danica was waiting in the parking lot. Danica was waiting in the parking lot. Right?
Exactly.
All right, welcome back. I'm Jason Whitlock. He is Marcellus Wiley. You all know Marcellus is that dude. Now he's going to show us the best plays from big guys around football. It's time for that dude's dudes. Marcellus, what you got?
Oh, I got love for the guys in the trenches, the big uglies, as they call them, not just the ones on the desk right here. Let's start off with number 3, Vikings defensive tackle, Linval Joseph. Oh, my God, Linval's lunch time. You can see right here, 5 tackles, 4 solo, 1 sack, as we're going to show you. And let's add to it 1 touchdown. Big dog is rolling. Big dog is rolling. And Big dog is getting up to a top speed of 18 miles an hour. Woo! Jason, good luck with you even getting 1 or the 8, let it alone. Let's see 18. Let's see how he got there. Linval going against the guard. Y'all open for lunch? Because he's right now scouring out there. Nah, we closed. That guard, ooh. Good block. So far, so good. But then you're going to see Joseph come around. All right, you got me stuck at this line. It's time to eat. Y'all are open for lunch. Let me grab this burger out the sky, okay? And start to take it to the house. Ooh, him and the tortoise in a race. The tortoise is keeping up. That's not good. And then we're going to see somebody we all recognize. Right, man, Jason Whitlock. Try to get your roll on 18 miles an hour. Got to put your face on something like that. And look at you, Linval. You know who you are. You that dude's cool as a
Well-deserved.
Well-deserved. Number 2, Boise State defensive end, Curtis Weaver. Oh, look at Dream Weaver right here. Boise State lost to San Diego State, but still 4 tackles, 3 solo, and 1 sack. Let's watch how Curtis Weaver beats the double team on his play and got to celebrate with his teammates. See this fan block right there? You know what that is, Jason. Fan block, that means 2 guys are coming your way. They're supposed to be able to blow you away. And that's supposed to, hey, double teams usually are challenging, but not for a man named Curtis Weaver. He is studying. He has seen this in film session. He knows that there is now a gap to the inside. Watch what he does right here. Oh, slaps the wrist as he comes down right there. Oh, collapses the wrist, as you see. And once you collapse the wrist, the body will fall. Look at him lunging right there. Caught him slipping, and then you got to do the clear technique. This is so important. Don't think that hand is just out there for no reason. That's to get you past the offensive lineman and even the center trying to cover. Too late. That dude, number 2.
That's a nightmare. I've been that offensive lineman.
Yeah, that's why you didn't go pro. And number 1, Seahawks offensive guard, DJ Fluker. Go, DJ, because that's my DJ right there. We know the Seahawks lost to the Rams, but, hey, my man right here has not allowed a sack in 3 games he has played, and now he's going against one of the best, Ndamukong Suh. First thing we're going to see from Ndamukong Suh is horrible technique. Don't let Fluker get that hand on you, 2 hands on you, Ndamukong Suh, and you only have 1, and it's on the outside, and it's not even in contact point. Uh-oh. And now look at his feet. Feet together, hopping in the air. Oh, Fluker knows this is horrible technique. So now that hand is still in the bad position, but he puts his foot down to anchor. Smart move there. But now it's too late. It's time to take a ride. And we're going to see that Buffalo strength come out. And time to finish him with the pancake. And as a teammate, can't have pancakes without a little syrup. Got to pour some of that syrup on that bar right there. And Ndamukong Suh, you got laughed at in film session because you won the game, but you lost that play.
You know what? That Suh, he needed to take a knee there. He was standing straight up like the national anthem was playing. That's when you need to take a knee.
Say it, brother. Yeah, you got caught bad, caught slipping.
All right, that was great, Marcellus. But now it's time to put you on the spot and get some of today's hot button stories in a segment we like to call Tell Us Marcellus. Let's start in the NBA, where the season hasn't even started yet, but people have already been speculating that Kevin Durant is planning to leave the Warriors in free agency next summer. Now Warriors reporter Marcus Thompson says Durant's exit is a done deal.
Man, KD out.
There it is.
I just feel like he's gone. It does have that vibe, like, this is it. This could be it right here. And part of it is, like, what's his reason to stay? You know, if they win again, does it become just not much of a challenge for him to stay? Here's the hard part with KD. We don't know what he wants. And I don't know that he knows what he wants, but I know the Warriors don't know fully what he wants. So is it championship? Is it supremacy? Is it to be the ace? You know, like, what is it that he wants? It feels like he's gotten everything he could possibly get from the Warriors. It's still not at 100% like he wants to be here.
All right, so tell us, Marcellus, does KD need to leave Golden State to help his legacy?
No, it's amazing that he's in this position where he is, where KD wants a new experience because his entire career has been a shared experience. KD, Russell Westbrook. And then now you get to Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors, the champions. KD has to once again share that experience, if not even take a back seat to the love and adoration of one Steph Curry and his own greatness. So KD's trying to lead an experience. He wants his own bedroom. He wants the master bedroom finally in this mansion that he's building in terms of legacy. But if he leaves, you may leave, but where are you going? Because his legacy, it seems cemented. Think about who Kevin Durant is. One of the best players we've ever seen, can do every single line item and stat on the stat sheet. He can do it offensively, defensively. But is he better than Kobe Bryant in terms of legacy? Will he ever be able to trump Kobe Bryant, who is scraping to trying to be a top 10 player by most people's assessments? So I think KD, even if you leave and win a championship, even if you leave, win a championship and MVP, does not change your legacy. I think you're cemented as a top 20 player, but not even going to crack top 10 despite accolades.
If he wins a championship on his own and wins another MVP with another team, you don't think that changes his legacy at all?
First of all, you're not going to win alone in today's NBA. So it's going to be another super team, except you're going to be number one clear cut. And that sounds great, but then start to think, okay, that would give Kevin Durant what opportunity in terms of legacy, in terms of a trump card? Who does he leapfrog now? Because it seems like the top 7 or 8 are cemented. Like, I'm not even hating on Kevin Durant, because for me, I say that he's one of the 5 best scorers we've ever seen in our game. But top 8, when Kobe is trying to crack how does he
He's got 2 titles with Golden State.
Yep.
Potential 3rd this year. If he goes to the New York Knicks and him and some other star carry the Knicks to a title, and he's got 4 titles, again, it won't put him past LeBron, but that's more titles than LeBron has. If you got 4 titles, you've won a championship with 2 different franchises, you carried OKC to a championship, I do think that elevates him in that second group of 10 players.
Yeah.
That elevates him much closer to the top 10 than I think you're giving him credit.
Well, look, it's going to be a hell of a roll of the dice to even pull that off and then to go somewhere and have that opportunity realized. That's one. But even if he does, then you're looking at people who said, I had a 5 championship experience with one roster in Kobe. Or you can say Michael Jordan, a 6 championship experience.
He ain't touching
Yeah, and then we start getting into the historical numbers and names. I just don't see it. I think if he leaves, he's still going to be in the same place, unfortunately.
All right, welcome back. I'm Jason Whitlock. He is Marcellus Wiley. We're joined now by Fox College football analyst Joel Klatt. As you all know, I'm a journalist, and we've got our resident Ivy League Marcellus here. So we're going to put on our thinking caps and take a deeper look into a sports issue. Darnell, bring in the Marcellus's cap. Marcel, did you clear Darnell wearing this small T-shirt on the show?
Extra medium.
Darnell, yeah.
Hey, man.
Let's try a double XL. This is a family show.
This is a 3X. Yes, sir.
Talk to him, Joe.
Hurry up and get off camera. You know he's sucking it in.
Listen,
hurry up.
You rock those mediums, man. You can. Get out.
Let's move to a story tying sports and politics together. Centered around Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Let's set aside arguments about Kavanaugh's merits and focus on his history as an athlete, which featured prominently in the battle over his confirmation. And American sports have long been considered a vital tool in shaping young men, but Kavanaugh's appointment prompted articles in the New York Times, The Nation, and other publications questioning that ideal. As Diana Moskovitz wrote in Deadspin, for example, for decades, a good local sports writer could turn any athlete, almost always a man, into a hero, regardless of how that man actually treated the people in his life. A piece of the bucolic ideal of sports dies every time another ex-football player is diagnosed with CTE, or another baseball player is arrested for domestic violence, or another team owner loses his team for racist comments. All right, I'm gonna play a bit of a devil's advocate here because I don't want the conversation to be too one-sided. I do have a philosophy that I've said over for a long time. Anytime you get more than two men together, every time you add a man, the IQ drops. And so men in big groups are dumb. But the argument that somehow sports aren't a vital part of building good men strikes at me wrong. But I want to know if you guys think there's any merit to this argument that sports somehow is corrupting men.
Look, I found it very disturbing through my athletic experience of playing sports, individual sports and team sports, to really undermine that experience and exaggerate it to all the negative places it's been attributed to. That's disturbing. The only negative thing I've ever seen from being on a sport or a team sport is what you said, the mob mentality. Like, it's even in the Bible. If two or more are gathered in my name, I'm there. Well, if it's more than me and my teammates and we're there, we're ready for anything. I mean, we could take this a lot of different places, good or bad. So I understand that point. But if I'm the NFL, I would be very concerned right now looking at this situation, because what's happening is everyone's trying to come and undermine what the greatest of all team sports is, which is the NFL experience. And what this is disturbing is because they're talking about, when I put my hand in a huddle for the first time and I looked around and finally saw different likenesses, different backgrounds, different ethnicities, everything, that experience somehow turns awkward or negative, and I don't see that as my pursuance. My pursuance was to do something as a collective. Everyone's different, but we're on the same page to shoot after one goal. To me, that's a positive.
Yeah, and athletics is the greatest meritocracy that we have, right? And I think those values are strong and they're important. And what I had a problem with when I would read all of these articles is that it was just harping on athletics and sports as if it's only a masculine entity. That's not the case. Women compete as well, and sports do amazing things for women just like they do amazing things for men in all different individual team sports. I'm just going to give 4 examples of the things that I learned and every athlete learns, regardless of sport and regardless of team sport, individual sport. One is selflessness. You have to have it or you cannot succeed. You have to have it. That is a trait that will pay huge dividends the rest of your life. Discipline. You have to have it in order to succeed, both as a group and as an individual. That is something that will pay huge dividends the rest of your life as you move forward. Competitiveness, you have to have it. And if you don't learn it, you're going to be ushered out very quickly. Competitiveness is something that we are lacking in our country to a great degree. A great degree. We need more competitive people so that we can be more competitive on the international stage in any different number of fields. And then perseverance. And I think that's the one that is the most important. Perseverance. If you do not persevere in an athletic endeavor, you will fail. You will fail. And guess what? The fact that you're going to fail is okay as long as you've learned how to persevere through that failure. And that's another thing that we don't have in our society is in the ability as individuals to fall short and persevere through it. We feel like we are owed everything by everyone at all times, and that's not the case. And that's why I love athletics. And this is not a male-female issue. This is a collectively as a group, this is what athletics and this is what sport teaches us.
I want to add something before I move to perhaps a question or playing devil's advocate is, Marcellus touched on it. I just think about all the guys I played with who I disagreed with and come from different backgrounds than me, didn't see the world that see the world the same way as I did, but I was still able to find something about them redeeming that I connected with. And we have moved in this society where if we disagree, the person you disagree with is this evil person who needs to be eliminated. And that mentality cannot survive in a sports team atmosphere. And you actually learn that even though we disagree, there are some things we have in common. That is a person over there, a person I disagree with, but they can still be a good person. And so I wish we had more of that in society. But I will question this, and this is where I think they're on fertile ground. And I started off talking about it earlier. I started thinking about the dumb things I did in a group setting with other athletes. And I could just come up with just one easy example. At Ball State, the cleaning ladies would come in at 12 o'clock, and we had to be there at 12:30. But if you got there before 12, and there'd be 5 or 6 of us that would be there, and just as young, dumb idiots, we would all strip down naked and make the cleaning ladies walk in while we were naked. It's just something dumb that we did. But I think that kind of stupidity is pervasive around all kind of young people, and it's not just athletics. I'm sure that stupidity was in the frat houses. And again, I'm not bragging about that as something, it was stupid, and we need to move beyond that. But those are things we can fix in sports rather than demonize about sports.
Yeah. I loved what you talked about, because I can tell you, whether it was, I played minor league baseball and then college football, and there were, those times in my life were the most diverse, whether it became background, culturally, whatever it was. I mean, I got to be around some amazing guys that I would have never associated with outside of the sporting world. And that's what's so crazy, is that in a large degree, the people writing these articles are the ones that are supposed to be champions of that type of setting. And yet they're trying to tear down one of the very few settings in which the true diversity of thought and culture exists in order to attain a common goal. Very fascinating to me.
Yeah, the purest community that we still have is the collective around sports, whether it's the viewer who has to watch the live event at the same time from different backgrounds, or it's the participants, and you just look there.
Sure.
And you check every single box when you start to look at a sporting event, and the athletes themselves. It's the best intersection we have of, you're on that side of the fence and I'm on this side of the fence, but we're going to try and get somewhere together.
It's the big tent, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're all under the tent.
Right. And what's crazy is I've noticed resentment, because I've been blessed to be on both sides of the fence, being an athlete and then being one who talks about the athletic experience in media. And what I've started to really feel is the resentment. And I used to use that resentment to kind of give me clarity of why would people always attack sports or attack athletes. And one day I was in Barbados and I was having a hydrated experience. And my driver, cab driver, don't think I'm LeBron, driver was telling me, he's like, you played football? And I was like, yes. And he's like, amazing, you made it to the pros. That's the best thing ever. And I'm like, thank you. And he's like, no, you don't understand. He's like, you accomplished what every single person in this world has tried. Now I'm starting to say, okay, am I that hydrated? And I'm not. You know what he says? This is the only occupation, being a professional athlete or athlete of any nature, that every single person who has walked this planet has tried. Every single person has picked up a ball. Every single person has had that vision or been in the backyard, front yard, at the park. He's like, not every person wanted to be a doctor. Not every person tried to be a doctor, lawyer. He's like, you're in that enchanted space. You're in that individual space that everyone aspires to. And there is a consequence when some people don't achieve that to the fullest.
Only thing I would say is, Marcellus, I think most, I wouldn't say everyone.
You got to talk about a cab driver.
No, but you're saying there are some people that almost from birth have an aversion to sports and it's not their thing. And what I see a lot of this criticism coming from are people that really weren't a part of the athletic experience even as kids.
Oh, not
and
it doesn't
they
have to be a team. It doesn't have to be a team. It doesn't have to be organized. It's just.
No, I get it.
Did your cousin ever say, okay, catch this?
No, I get it. Because what I say about basketball, everybody, my mother included, has picked up a basketball and shot it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. You're forced to it. But I think what I read from a lot of people and this animosity towards sports, it's a lot of people that didn't like jocks when they were in junior high and high school. They're in this profession now where they can exact revenge or defeat a culture that they feel like jock culture is against nerd culture, and they want nerd culture on top.
I know that we're not going to have a ton of time, and what I would say on the other side is what athletes have historically done a poor job of is showing the qualities rather than showing the elitism, of feeling like they are better. And I think that has something to do with the identity that we have of being wrapped up in the athlete, being wrapped up in the success that you have on the athletic field. If we were to, as athletes, show more of the selflessness and discipline and perseverance and that type of goal-oriented work, and less of the elitist, I'm better than you because I'm an athlete, I think that we would have less of this sentiment in our society.
All right, welcome back. It's that time again. Time for Darnell Smith, our social media manager, to come in and try to get me to like social media. Not going to happen. Darnell's still wearing that extra tight shirt.
Come on now.
Well, I see you, though.
Don't hate on me.
It's a family show, Darnell. Kids are watching.
And a Turkish, though. Can you pull that Turkish out? Debo ain't around here. Pull that chain out.
Y'all hating because y'all wish y'all looked like me.
No, we got to see that skinny chain. Just show that skinny chain.
You pull it out?
My goodness.
Come on now. That's all you need.
$18.99, aisle 5.
You got to fake it till you make it.
Go ahead, Darnell. What you got?
We're going to start with a story that's been trending on Twitter with Colin Kaepernick, who was trademarking an image of his face and hair. The filing says Cap wants to use the image in association with social justice workshops and seminars, TV and film production, and even products like shampoo and jewelry. Between this and Cap's new Nike deal, the internet is finally connecting the dots that Whitlock figured out a while ago. Check this out. Whitlock was right. Whole thing was about money. Whitlock, does this trademark confirm your theory?
Hey, man, it's always been about the money. He's a brand. It's always been about his brand. Cap's not into football. Cap's not into social activism. Cap's into Cap.
No, that's not fair. Money is going to be made, and he's like, I want to make it and funnel it to my causes, to my things that I'm supporting. So I'm not mad at this because we all knew that kneeling was something to get attention, and then the attention is something to get some actions, and then actions have to come through either legislation or resources. Money is a resource to bring value to his cause.
I remember when MLK turned I Have a Dream into a brand, he trademarked that. I remember that for money.
He
did, when MLK did that.
But Coca-Cola and MLK did have a relationship, but I hear you.
All right, go ahead, Darnell. What's next?
Yeah, let's talk a little UFC, where Derek Lewis and Daniel Cormier are now headlining UFC 230 in New York City next month in a fight for the heavyweight title. But I want y'all to check out this clip that's going viral from a news conference featuring the two fighters earlier this summer, talking about their history. Take a listen.
Derek, what's your issue with Daniel? I want to know too.
He disrespected Popeye's chicken on a commercial a few years ago.
What's Cormier laughing about? What's Cormier laughing? You don't disrespect Popeyes.
You don't?
Not on national TV, no.
I mean, there was a day, but then when Auntie Popeye started coming in the commercials, I just noticed that the products start changing. Like, it used to be, look, this was sacrilegious for a while, but now you even admit it. You got to go to certain Popeyes now. And he's mad at this. I'll be mad at Jerry Rice more than that, but you ain't fighting Jerry Rice. But Jerry Rice disrespected Popeye.
Let me just go on record here. Daniel Cormier is going to kill Derek Lewis.
Destroy.
Derek Lewis is funny,
yeah,
but he got no business being in the ring with Octagon.
And no win for those 5 rounds. No win. It's over.
Yeah, he'll be buying some Popeye's chicken. Darnell, what's next?
Yes, sir. We're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, who are in the midst of a Super Bowl hangover, struggling with a 2-3 record right now. But this clip from a local Philly newscast has got Twitter considering a new strategy to save their season. Take a listen.
I think that I would go to drastic measures. I think they need to go on a fast.
But what kind of fast?
Not food fast.
What?
The boys need to be cut off.
From what? From
the
sex?
goodies.
The women?
No
You
more
think that would
sex.
make a difference? You think that's the
They
issue?
just seem
They're
to be,
getting too much?
Well, hey, that's what, hey, it fogs up your mind.
I gotta be honest with you. I like her.
I was about to say.
I like the
Keep
whole
laughing.
thing.
Keep laughing.
About
Girl.
her.
She keep laughing.
Where his brother's coming from?
What
What good has come from cutting off sex? I don't.
Shoot your shot,
DM me.
Whitlock.
Drop
Shoot
my
your
DM.
shot.
We can get her.
Hey, one more time, run that clip. Let me see the Instagram at the bottom. Let me check that IG at the bottom. Whoa. People, can we get rid of this myth? It wasn't the moment. It's the chase. Coaches, everyone says don't do this before the game because they don't want you out to 2, 3 o'clock chasing it. It's not the actual moment that they talk about.
I agree with that. All right, Darnell, what's next?
All right, finally, y'all know I'll sit at home and watch FS1 all day long.
I heard.
So here's the take from yesterday that started buzzing online.
Uh-oh.
We all heard that Tom Brady threw some shade at Patrick Mahomes' college-style offense, but like it is, Todd Furman has confidence in Brady against the high-octane Chiefs. Take a listen.
Tom Brady coming out and speaking out against Patrick Mahomes, saying it's much easier to be a starting quarterback in this league as a rookie now, leads me to believe he's awfully confident about the matchup he's going to have with his talented trio of receivers with Gronkowski, Josh Gordon, and Julian Edelman all back in the fold. Sony Michel is going to have a field day running against the interior of this Chiefs defense. And I think for the first time all season, you could see Kansas City start to stress a little bit playing against a dynamic offense that can score as quickly and as many different ways as they've been able to do.
Ooh, I love this theory, but he just got the wrong take on it. Tom Brady is overconfident, and that's why they're going to get their clocks clean by the Kansas City Chiefs. I love this theory. He's talking out of his side of his mouth about Patrick Mahomes because he's overconfident, and that's why they're going to get beat.
Yeah, great theory. Like you said, the Kansas City defense at times is mush. We understand that. And
Not last week.
Yeah, not at times. And last week they were better, but Sony Michel also showed up for the Patriots, so they have a run game now. Here's the thing, though. They beat the brakes off the Patriots last year, and that was with Alex Smith. I mean, just imagine what's going to happen now. Be careful, Brady. It's coming.
Andy Reid not remotely scared of Bill Belichick. Darnell, great job. Bigger T-shirt next week. My
tuck it
family's
in.
watching. We don't need to see that. We don't need to.
See what I can do.
All right, today we're talking about LeBron James, who is gearing up for his first year as a Laker, but is raising some eyebrows off the court, admitting he lets his 11 and 14-year-old sons drink wine with him. I have a big problem with this, and it's reflected in my approval rating. I got LeBron down to a 77.
Whoa.
Job performance, 25. All-time greatness, 24.
24.
Character, I get it down to an 18, and authenticity takes a big drop for me. It's down to a 10 for a total of 77.
What?
It's Hollywood James. We've got Hollywood LeBron James. I don't like it.
Man, do I need LASIK? Because those numbers at the bottom. What are you talking about? The GOAT is barely an all-star? Like, that's insane.
That's solid all-star.
A solid all-star? Are you kidding me? LeBron James is much better than that, and I give you the numbers that should be reflected. I want to go 25s across the board, but you admit it. I got to go there with you, too, man. You can't be giving the kids no drink. But 25 in job performance, duh. All-time great, 25. He may not be better than Jordan, but he's as good. And for me, he is better. So 25 there. Character, 24. Judge a man by the distance traveled. We know his story. We know where he's from. We know his background, nearly homeless. No scandals, and you've been famous since 16. Stop playing. I would have given him a 25.
You Chris Rock. I take care of my kids. You're supposed to. You're supposed to be without scandal. I've been scandal-free my whole life.
Yeah, that don't mean you ain't did some dirt, though. They'll find the dirt on LeBron. See, you ain't slick. And then authenticity, I drop him a couple. 22, I get it. Look, he's real to his experience, so I give him that. But if your experience suggests that you should drink wine with your kids, That to me is a little.
How authentic is that hair?
Woo!
No points there? How authentic is that?
Woo. There's
I mean, look, we
time-
can just start there.
It depends on what time. Does he have a commercial coming up? Because it's full then. And when it's full,
Yeah, he looks like Jalen Rose one day and you the next.
Don't go there on Jalen. Don't go. That's a New York East Coast thing now. These dudes be painting their hairline. Leave him alone.
I can say that about Jay. I've known Jalen since he was
Jalen the
19.
dog. Jalen the dog. Oh, man.
But come on, Marcellus.
What? Nothing wrong.
96 GOAT. Look, I get it. A 96, I understand the GOAT, but a 96?
LeBron is under Baker Mayfield in your world, which is just absurd to me.
It's an approval rating in the moment.
It
Let's
is.
see where Baker is next time we do him. But Marcel, authenticity?
Yes.
He's gone Hollywood, man.
How? Because he makes movies? He's been making movies.
Because he's sitting in a barbershop drinking wine, pretending like that's the real experience.
Was his kids in the barbershop too drinking? What are you talking about?
My point is, LeBron is privileged.
Yeah, he earned the privilege.
No.
He wasn't born with it, so how did it come?
Are you kidding me? Why do you think they got the chosen one tatted on his back? Because he was doing a bunch of exercises to get to 6'9"?
Okay.
Or was he born?
Okay, 6'9" and 260 is amazing, but you still got to use it.
I get it.
There's some UPS drivers 6'8", and
He's been privileged since he was about 12 years old, and that's why he's sitting on TV drinking wine in a barbershop and talking about over in Europe they let the kids.
So if he had a 40 in the barbershop, you think that's more authentic?
more authentic than any barbershop I've been in.